My name is Monk Rowe, and we're filming for the Hamilton College Jazz Archive in Rome, New York. I'm very pleased to have Germaine Bazzle with me. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to Rome. And before we were rolling, we were talking about your trip up from New Orleans, and we're pleased to have you here at the Rome Y camp. It seems like you put a lot of soul into your teaching, and the reason I say that is I was eavesdropping while you were teaching.
Oh.
I was looking through the window, and you really looked like you were involved with those students who you had only just met.
Mm-hmm.
How do you warm up so quickly to music students?
Oh, wow. First of all, I didn't know that you were peeping. But you know, it's when you work with children, children are so open to you. You know, they really open their arms because they come to you without any what shall I say, blockings or anything, any trappings. They come to you very wide open, and these young people came to me this morning very wide open and ready to learn, you know, about what we do insofar as the scatting and that kind of thing, because that's what they were truly curious about to know. And they came here with that kind of anticipation. So I had no choice but to try to, you know, answer that for them and to convince them that they are capable of doing that, of doing the scatting, because it seemed like it was a mystery to them. But by the time we got through our little tunes this afternoon, they were beginning to feel comfortable and to feel free, and they began to understand about the improvisational side of what we do. So, because when I see that from them, that kind of interest, that kind of spirit, you know, it makes you want to keep driving and get more and more and more and more. So what you saw, I was asking for more and more and more.
Yeah. It even seemed like you were doing some movement things with them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that part of your teaching?
I want them to understand that music involves the entire being. You know, it's not just a spiritual thing. It's not just a physical thing. You know, it's all of you, you know. I mean, every part of your being works with this. And to get them to understand the concept of swinging, of the swing with it, you know, it's clapping, you know, it's patting your feet, that kind of thing. And when you're singing, for me, I find that when I ask them to swing, I'm asking you to dig in there, you know, and just let your soul be free and give me 2 and 4. Just give me that swing on 2 and 4, you know. And it made a difference. And the song that we were learning today, one of them, Pick Yourself Up, okay? And we learned the lyrics and all. But I said to them, clap while you sing it, okay? I said, I want you to clap 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So they sang it clapping 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now clap it and sing and clap on 1 and 3. 1, 3, 1, 3. I said, now clap and sing on 2 and 4. I said, now which one felt better?
Oh.
They said 2 and 4. I said, that's it. You know, so it's to get them to understand that, you know, it's not rocket science, you know, it's just dealing with what you have, you know, and being natural with it and being free to do that. And this is, you know, because I am told that I'm a physical singer, well, but, and they're right.
Yeah. And physical in movement, but also I think that must mean something beyond that you move around stage.
Yeah, right, yeah. Yeah, it's more than that, you know, it's more than that. But it's almost to the point where I'm conducting, you know, because the guys tell me, yeah, I saw that shoulder moving. I said, you did, yeah. So whatever the shoulder means, you know, and I'm singing, whatever they get out of that shoulder, fine, you know. It makes, if it's going to bring us in and it's going to make us tighter, you know, fine. I don't know what it means, you know. They said, well, and you're singing, you shake your leg, you know. I said, well, I'm keeping time. No, there's something else that's happening when you do that. What am I communicating? I don't know, but whatever it is that they understand it to communicate, that's it, you know. But the whole thing, Monk, is it's got to swing. It's got to swing. And if I feel like I'm losing that, then I know I am.
And the part you were talking about doing the clapping thing, which I think I probably will steal that, by the way, because it's funny when people start clapping on 1 and 3. I sometimes don't know how to deal with that. So I love your ask them, which feels better, you know. Did you have someone, when you were a young person, helping you learn?
Well, I had records. You know, those youngsters don't know about these 33 1/3, you know, but that's what we had. And Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan, Charlie Parker, Miles Davis, you know, because we listened a lot. And and I told the students this afternoon, for me to learn how to do what I do, especially with the scatting, came from listening to instrumentalists more than vocalists. As much as I enjoyed and learned from Ella and Sarah and all those ladies, at one time I had to stop listening to them because I found myself almost trying to do their things, you know, during their music. And I said, but it's not mine. You know, it's not me yet. So listening to instrumentalists and learning their solos, and then learning everybody's solo on the recording. That was the challenge, you know, and then being able to sing those solos while you're doing the dishes, or, you know, whatever, without the recording. You see, that was the challenge. And there was a group of us, you know, in school. I mean, that's what it was. We'd sit in what we call the co-op at the university. It was like a cafe or something, and we'd sit in the co-op and we'd sing these songs, you know, and okay, you take Bird solo, you take Miles solo, you know, and it was great fun. It was great fun. I never imagined I would be using it now, but at the time, I mean, I just liked jazz, and you know, you just sing it. But I never thought I'd be using it in this manner.
If you were doing a Charlie Parker solo and then you were trying to do a Miles solo, would you choose different syllables to pull that solo off?
Good question. I'm inclined to go with the sound, okay, as opposed to syllable. For instance, if you know, if I'm trying to get into one of Bird's things, you know, I would be inclined to try to match his tone, the sound of his horn, as opposed to, you know, using a syllable. And with the horn, it's, you know, that kind of thing. I'm more inclined towards that, which I discovered, maybe a couple of years ago, because I didn't realize how much those guys were influencing me. Are you following what I'm saying? You know, so much so that on the gigs, I said, you know what? I'm not going to use any syllables. I'm just going to try to get the sound. And when I started doing that, I realized that I was bringing another sound to the whole ensemble.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Well, musicians talk about singers in that regard. Sometimes they say, well, she's like having another horn in the band.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yes.
know?
Mm-hmm.
I remember people saying that about Joe Williams,
Mm-hmm.
who we know
Yes.
pretty well, and
Yes.
that he was like another horn in the band.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is that a compliment to you?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so, because I know that I'm limited, you know, in that sound.
Mm-hmm.
But wherever I am, whatever I can do within my range, you know, I think that's that's a wonderful compliment, which means I was able to pull it off.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But now I'm working with a group at home, and the tenor player and I, whenever anybody's taking a solo, he and I will get together and we'll do some kind of little riff.
Oh, good.
You know, a little background
Mm-hmm.
riff, you know, or something like that. And it's all a joy. It's all a joy for me.
Having being educated in music, does it help you in a band situation because you know, I'm trying to figure out how to say this correctly, you know chords and you know forms, perhaps
Mhm.
more than some singers who are sort of just singing innately.
Mm-hmm,
Is it helpful to you that you have that music education background?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, very much so. Because there are just little things that I learned in the training that I use. For instance, if I'm doing harmony with the horn player and he's using a vibrato,
Mm-hmm.
okay, then I think that I should match his vibrato to make it even closer,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I'll listen to his breathing, where he's phrasing, so that we can phrase alike. Because so much of this stuff happens, you know, it's impromptu, you know,
Yeah.
it's improvisational, you know. So
Right.
to make us sound more like a unit and all of this, you know, those are the little things that I listen for. Had I not had the training in choral singing and breathing and phrasing and listening, because I used to play bass, you know, and listening to the bands and all of this and what the people were doing, I don't think I would be as aware, you know,
Mm-hmm.
of those little secrets, you know. Sometimes if we're doing a tune and maybe we're not doing it exactly as it is supposed to be rhythmically, but I'll listen to what the horn guy is doing, and if he's going to do a little syncopated thing instead of, you know, right on, I'm going to match that. I'm going to
Mhm.
work with that, because it's all about making the music.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about making the music and making that sound, you know. And it's all about, how should I say, experiencing a oneness.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
That becomes more possible if you're able to work with the same group consistently. Are you able to do that in New Orleans?
No.
Yeah,
No.
it's hard,
Which
isn't
which
it?
is even more of a challenge now,
Yes.
because I work with a group now that I've been working with for a while, but it's only on that one night. But I may work at Snug Harbor with a whole different group of musicians, you know, and I may work at the hotel with another group of musicians. Mind you, now, somewhere along the line, I have worked with all of them,
Yes.
but not necessarily that
Right.
particular grouping.
Right.
So we are sensitive to each other, you know, but it's always that little unexpected thing, that little surprise thing, that little thing that you're always looking for, that kicks it, you know, puts that extra little spice in it, you know, that makes it work.
Yeah.
So even if I'm not working with the same group all of the time, if I'm working with another tenor player, you know, and something is going on, and I'll walk over to him and say, well, let's try this riff, you know, and he says, okay. And I'll sing the riff through one time, and he comes in and he does a harmony on it, and then we flip-flop, you know, and all. So
that's
the
great.
fun. It's fun.
And it adds so much to the experience for the listeners, I think.
Yes.
You know, the astute listener and watcher will even see that happen.
Yes.
You know, they see you walk over and hum
Yes.
something, and then, I mean, that's
Yes.
great.
Yes, it is. And I was blessed to be a part of the group with Alvin Red Tyler, who's a great, wonderful musician in New Orleans. And I learned that from him. Sometimes we were on the gig, and he said, he'd play a little riff, and he'd look at me. You know, it was with no words. You know, he'd just play this little riff, and he'd look at me, and I said, okay, here we go, ta-da, you know, and I'm trying to find a third or something to do it with him in thirds. And that's, you know, I learned that from him. You know, I learned a lot from him, but that's one of the little secrets, and we call them Red Tylerisms, you know, little things that he used to do.
Yeah. Was music part of your life from a young age?
Yes. I grew up in a home where there was music all of the time. My dad played piano, my mom played, and my aunts and uncles played, and there was a song called Sweet Sue that my dad used to play all of the time, and I learned to play that song. I guess I must have been about 9 or 10 years old. And 2 years later, my mom decided that I should have some formal training, and it went from that. But there was always music.
Were you aware, or when did you become aware of the heritage and history of your city? Or did it make an impression on you, the fact that you lived there? Sometimes people who live in a certain area that's known for something don't become aware of it as much as those of us that were reading about it from outside.
Let me answer that this way. I became aware of it because of some things that happened in New Orleans, the Mardi Gras. Okay? My parents were in a marching club. So at Mardi Gras, they dressed in these costumes and had the band, you know, and they marched around. And I grew up with that. And it was understood, you know, that this is a part of you, this is a part of what we do, you know. You don't have to embrace it, but you have to be aware of it, okay? Then being around, living in a neighborhood where there were many musicians, and you'd hear these guys practicing, you know, and you're sitting on the front porch hearing them practice, you know, playing with their kids, and hearing, you know, the band practicing in the backyard or something like that. You grew up with that, and it was not anything to be at least I didn't take it for granted, because I felt good when I did it. You know, and I can remember even as a child, you know, feeling good when I did the music, even to the point where I put the turntable on and I'm washing the dishes or something like this. It's always music. And then I decided that I wanted to do what I saw the Nicholas brothers do, and tapping, and, you know, getting on the kitchen table and tapping and looking, and then seeing my father peep around the door. You know, so I'm sharing all of these little things with you because that's how much music was in my life, or is in my life, you know. And as I got older, I moved into an area called like the Treme area of our city, where a lot of the music is, where it really came from. You know, we have these second lines, and the parades and all of this, and the people are dancing in the street and all. And then I had the opportunity to go to Preservation Hall and watch all of these older people playing this music, and and you start making the connection. You start making the connection. If you can see the Humphrey brothers and all of these guys over here in Preservation Hall, and maybe walk 6 or 7 blocks away and see the youngsters doing the same thing, there's that connection right there. There's no denying it. There's no denying what that music is. And the older I get, the more important it becomes that I pass this on to youngsters, so that they can understand that this is ours. This is a part of our culture. This is what we have brought to America. We've brought this to America. Yes, we had all of the European music come to us, but we brought this out of Congo Square, we brought this from the Dominican Republic, we brought this from all of these places, and now you have all of these rhythms going on, and it's exciting, and you're responding to rhythms and rhythms and rhythms, so. Okay, I'm getting excited.
No. You said that very well. My wife and I were in New Orleans just about a year ago, and we were walking, I think, on Canal Street, I guess, and we could hear this sound of this band, and we literally followed the sound, and then on the corner of, I guess, Bourbon Street, there was this group of young kids playing. And they were unbelievable. You couldn't possibly write down what they were playing. And I just thought that was a joy to see that still goes on.
Yes.
Is there any organization to that kind of street corner playing that you're aware of? Is there a hierarchy or something in how that happens?
I don't know. Let me put it this way, it's just that this guy says to this child, take this horn, and I'm going to teach you how to play this, I'm going to teach you how to play that. And the little child struggles with it, and finally he learns how to play, and then you get another kid together. It's coming out of the neighborhoods. It's coming out of the neighborhoods. And it's not necessarily that you're teaching them to read at that point. It's just teaching them to respond to what's naturally within, And we have many, many, many musicians who started that way. Little ones, there's a young man, what's this child's name now? Troy Andrews.
Oh. Is that trombone shorty,
yes,
they call him?
Trombone shorty.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the trombone was bigger than he was when he started playing, and he was maybe about that tall, but he was playing that horn, and he was getting this big sound. I remember I used to sing with the St. Louis Cathedral Choir, and we'd do a 10 o'clock Mass at the cathedral. And one Sunday, I came out of Mass and I heard this music, but I didn't see these people. And I went to the corner, and there's all these little boys, trombone shorty, with the trombone, and the little kid with the trumpet. And I imagined 9, 10 years old, there was a whole band of these kids. I got so excited, I ran inside to the rectory. I said, you guys got to come out here and see this, So, and I think that the older gentlemen, the older players, just sort of took them in hand and said, okay, learn these songs. And these kids just started playing, and finally they got into where they were going to the training, they got into the formal bit, but they never lost that root thing. They never lost that feeling, that spirit, no matter what they play. no matter what they play, whether they're playing the traditional, or they're playing the blues, or they're playing straight ahead jazz, or whatever, that feeling is still there.
This group I mentioned started playing Stand By Me, you know,
Yes.
and what they did with it was indescribable, but it was so great, and they just went on forever. The endurance.
Yes.
Even
Oh, yes.
Wow.
Yes. Yes.
Did you have any trouble when you started formal music lessons with the fact that you had, I'm guessing that you had developed a very good ear by the time you started doing that. Was that a help or a hindrance?
It was a help.
Good.
It was a help. It helped with the sight singing, you know, and then too, it helped because I played the bass. That also helped the ear,
Yeah.
you know. I started playing the bass when I was about 12. Okay, and all of those things just helped me to develop a fairly decent ear, you know.
Was there a point that you can remember where you made a conscious sort of career decision about, okay, music's definitely in me, now what am I going to do with it?
Okay. I didn't have that choice, okay? And talking about a career decision. It had to be music. It was music. I feel that my calling is to teach it. Okay. Performing, that's the bonus side of it. But my calling is to teach. Therefore, that's where my commitment has been, to teaching, teaching, teaching. Now, what I learn in performing, I bring to the classroom. What I learn in the classroom, I bring to performing. You see, but teaching is the thing that I really believe that I've been called to do. I tried to stop. I tried to stop. I taught for about 12 years, and I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be in the classroom anymore. I'll just go on and do the gigs. You know? But there was something missing, so I started teaching privately, teaching at home. But it still was not enough. Then I got a call to go to the school where I am now. And as soon as I walked in the classroom, I said,
I'm home, right?
Yeah, right.
What grade levels do you teach
9
now?
through 12, high school. And it was just like a good deep sigh. You know.
Isn't that interesting?
And I love teaching choral music. I really do. But that's what it's turned out to be. But I can still do the gigs.
Yeah.
You see, I can still sing with the choirs, but I still have, because as I said, what I learned in performing, I bring back to the classroom, because certainly maybe something that you saw me doing this evening, had I not been a performer, I would not have been able to bring that kind of punch. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And it makes you, especially if your students can see you perform on occasion,
Yes.
I think it really makes you legitimate in their eyes and gives weight to what you pass on to them. And when you don't have to depend on gigs to pay the rent.
True.
It's a different ball game.
Yes. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
What do you tell aspiring students about that these days when they come to you and they just want to be a star?
Okay. One of the things that I emphasize to them is to be sure that they talk to their parents about this, because it's a decision that they have to make, whether the parents are going to support them with that or not. Okay, what are the parents expecting out of them? If you follow music as a career, you know, are the parents willing to support you with that? The other thing is be prepared. You've got to study. You know, there are some of us who were born with, like I said, with the innate talent, you know, but it's not enough. You know, you've got to have some musical training. You've got to learn how to use the voice as opposed to abusing the voice. You know, it's to your advantage to know what key you sing the song in. It's to your advantage to know the tempo that you want. It's to your advantage to know about dynamics, you know. It's to your advantage to understand that, you know, this horn has to transpose, you know, so that you will know, you know, just what's going to happen when you do this tuning.
Right.
It's to your advantage. So the training is important. But even besides all of that, how real can you be with your performance? How honest can you be with your performance? How honest can you be with yourself when you are performing? Because your audience demands honesty.
What makes honesty in a performance for you? Is that possible to put into words?
I think it only comes through your performance. If you can take the material that you have and make it your own, and be willing to stand emotionally nude before a group of people, they will get it, and they will know that you are for real. You know, they will know it's honest. You can't fool them.
Do you think people try to do that before they're ready, when they're too young? To be, well, I guess I'm thinking of, maybe I didn't ask that right, but this phenomenon about American Idol and the overuse, I believe, of the term diva over the years. You know, I wonder how that affects impressionable young aspiring people.
Yes, I understand that question. I watch American Idol. I watch it primarily because I work with young people. Some of it I don't particularly care for, but then that's not me. You know, it's not about me, it's about them. And I understand the young people having that ambition and having that goal, but you've got to prepare for it. You've got to prepare for it. That's a rough business. And I'm not talking about just musically. You know, you've got to be prepared to take the rough edges, you know, the rough comments. You know, you have to be prepared to cry. You know, you have to be prepared to accept some of the things that are going to come down the pike with that. Why? Because if you pursue this career, you're going to run into that same thing. You're going to run into that same thing. Criticisms. People don't like you. People will say things about you, true or untrue. People will do things to hurt you. They will do things to how shall I say? I don't want to say, what's the word? To keep you from being successful, out of jealousy, out of envy, you know, those kind of things. Now you've got to be ready for that. And I think that some of our young people are not ready for that side of it. You know? And so when I watch that program and I listen to the young people, and I think that there are some demands being put upon them that they're not ready for. You know, I wonder if after rehearsals, if they can speak. You know, because sometimes the demands are such that you've got to give me this big, big sound, and we keep going over and over and over and over till you get it. You know, well, whew, you know, I need a break.
Yeah.
I need to be able to be quiet. I shouldn't be hoarse when I finish singing. You know, so I don't know how they do it. You know, with the young people, I don't know how much they demand of them, but I think that some of the material does not suit the singer.
Yeah.
It really does.
That's a good answer. It must be a little tricky sometimes when parents come to you also, and have they ever come and said, do you think my daughter should be pursuing a professional career in music?
There are some, now, in all honesty, there are some young people, you know, I mean, you see it now, that this is, you know, they're going to be a star. I mean, you see it now, but they're learning now. They're getting the training now. They're not waiting until they get 19, 20, and 21 to start the training. The training is starting at 9, 10, 11, 12, you know, so that by the time they get, you know, of age of majority, if you will, by the time they get there, they've had a lot of groundwork there. And so those are the ones who will be able to survive, I think. But I don't think it works very well when you're 19 and you want to go on the stage at 19 and a half, you know. Because they're in a hurry,
right?
You know, and you have to have patience in preparing for this. But many of them are in a hurry, you know. They want to hurry up and get it so they can hurry up and do this, so they can hurry up and do that. You know, so they can hurry up. And when you get to the point where you can't hurry anymore, then what do you have to fall back on?
Do the students in your, are you in a public school? Or
No, I'm in a private school.
In a private school. They have a lot of musical opportunities in that private school.
Yes, yes. And, you know, we have, I think, a pretty good fine arts department. You know, we've got piano and instrumental music and vocal music and drama and art and all of that kind of thing, you know. And those of us who are in that department, we work together, you know, so that our kids are benefiting from all of the areas. So that the person who is sitting down watching the speaker, the person who is the singer sitting down watching the speaker, has something to go by, to listen to, you know, notice things, you know, notice the phrasing, notice the enunciation, you know, notice these kinds of things, so that you as a singer must understand that that's part of singing, enunciation, phrasing, you know, that's part of it too. Expression, showing it on your face, that's part of it too. So look at the actor and then project that through your singing, you know. And then it's the same thing, you know, the actor looks at the singer, you know, and notices, well, what's happening here, the dynamics, you know, what are we doing, you know, it works.
Yeah, there's something to learn from every art form.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow, interesting. In New Orleans, we were talking a little bit on the way in the car about musical opportunities in the various cities. And is there a lot of competition for gigs in the city?
I don't know so much as competition. I don't know. I don't think there's competition because we don't have very many musicians back in New Orleans yet.
Yeah.
Because everybody, we're so happy to see each other. And we're so happy to hear each other that we're not competing with each other. You know, it's just the place where I work on Monday nights, the some of the musicians, they come in from Texas. One little fellow, I think he's somewhere in Dallas, and he says, I had to come home. I had to come for at least a weekend. I had to come and play. So, you know, they walk in with their horns. You know, some of them, they're out the case before they get in the place. Well, so we're not competing at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I don't think that we are competing as much as we're enjoying each other and welcoming each other. And we're so glad to see each other and share. That's a very special time,
Yeah.
especially since Katrina.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all special. So, you know, if there's any competition going on, you know, it's between us and the good Lord, because we're saying, come on, Lord, give us more, give us more, give us more, let us do more, let us do more.
Yeah.
You know, and when I say that, it's coming, because I really believe that the music comes from there and goes through here. You know, we're just a vessel.
I see.
You know, and so we're saying, give us more so we can put more of it out, put more of it out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, in that sense, I don't think that we are at that competitive stage. Now, maybe when everybody gets back,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
it might be, but right now it's just a joyous time.
Reunion
Yes.
time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt there was anybody in the city that was not affected by that. Were you personally affected in a dramatic way?
Yeah. Well, not as dramatic as some
As some.
people, you know,
Mhm.
but I did have the flooding.
Mm-hmm.
To the extent that we had to, you know, gut everything, take out all the walls, even the ceiling, you know, the flooring, because of the water, and had wind damage. Part of my roof was in the driveway, you know, and all of that. But that's able to be repaired.
Mm-hmm.
It's the people whose homes floated down the street, you know, whose homes just collapsed. Their situation is far worse than mine. Because in my area now, I was very glad to see that my neighbors are coming back and working on their homes, you know, that kind of thing. But the biggest thing for me is that I have not been able to get into my own home while they're doing the repairs. But I do have a place to live.
Okay.
Okay, I have a place to live. And I'm in New Orleans, and
Right.
I'm back at work. But we have people who can't even come back because they don't have a place to live. They would like to come back and work, but there's no place to live while they work. So they're out there, and it's like they're stranded. You know, and there are many people like that. And believe me, they all want to come back home. They all want to come back home. They all want to work. They all want to be a part of this process of bringing New Orleans back. That's what we're saying, or rebuilding New Orleans. They all want to be a part of that. But you've got to have some place to live while you're doing it.
Right.
You know.
I just got a mailing from, I guess it came from, I'm not sure, Wynton Marsalis is on a big fundraiser coming up, and there have been a lot of efforts, and I hope that they have positive results for all of you down there.
Yes, yes. Well, you know, there's a special thing going on, which is this Habitat for Humanities is doing a thing for Musicians Village, you know, so they are, and you know that involves sweat equity and all of that kind of thing, so that the musicians who have applied for a home, they have to come in and do some work, helping in building their homes, you know, so they're about the business of setting up a place so that the musicians can come back. And they're going to establish a center, an Ellis Marsalis Center in that area for children, so that you will teach the children, you know, the music. You know, so that's looking good. Yeah.
Do you have, when you're trying to teach a jazz concept, to people who've been trained classically, do they get hung up with worrying about making a mistake?
Yes. And when we're doing ensemble singing and it's arranged, you know, and you have your 4-part harmony or whatever. So we have to sing these notes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have to sing these notes. And we have to sing the rhythm that is there. But we can also take liberties. And that's where some of them have, you know, but that's a quarter note, you know, and it's followed by an 8th note. Okay, that's fine, you know, and there's the rest. Quarter note, 8th note, rest. Yeah, that's fine. But suppose I want to make it 8th note, quarter note, rest.
Mm-hmm.
What's that going to do to the effect of the tune? You know, what's that going to do to the swing of the tune? You know? So sometimes, you know, they're uncomfortable with it until we have it in context and they see where it's coming from. You know, where it's coming from, where it's coming from. Let me say something with swingle singers. You're familiar
Mm-hmm.
with swingle. I love them. I love them. I love them. And I try to get a group of people, musicians, especially vocal music teachers. I tried to get a group of them together because I wanted to do swingle singers, you know. And more than one told me that they didn't think that they could do that. I said, why not? I can't imagine Bach as a jazz piece. I said, back up. Have you really listened? Have you really played? I mean, just a simple 2-part invention.
Mm.
Have you really played it? Have you really listened to all that's going on in that piece? And I'm not just talking about the dynamics that's written there. I'm just asking you, have you really listened to it? You know, the little things that you have going against each other.
Right.
You know, and all you've got to do is put a backbeat to it and it's swinging. And that Bach swings.
Yeah.
And I imagine that I guess I would call Bach the swingingest, you know, Baroque musician, you know. I mean, really, I mean, for the audience. I mean, you're playing, you know, you're bringing this music for people. You know, you're playing for an audience all the time. You're writing your music for performances.
Mm-hmm.
You know, swingle singers did it.
Yeah.
With just a bass and a snare drum.
Right.
And everybody else was singing the other parts.
Right.
You know, it was right there.
Yeah.
You know? So, and we try that sometimes. Sometimes I get bold enough to try to do something counter to what the guys are doing. And we have 2 horns, 3 horns on the stage, you know, and I'm doing a tune, and when I, you know, it's kind of like a look, and I'll say, come on, everybody get in. Let's just play, you know, and we're just free to do this.
Yeah.
You know, that's another kind of experience, you know.
You're doing some polyphony there.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're in the right city to do it. I mean, that's what
yes.
the pioneers were doing too.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly so. And I just know that I don't do it all of the time, but the guys have given me permission, so to speak, to say, okay, guys, you know, let's do this, and I'd like us to do this little riff right here. Okay, and it goes from there. It develops from there. You know, you don't have to have a whole book of stuff. Just let it work itself out now, and after it's over, the night is over, you say, oh, that was a good night.
It felt good.
Yeah, it felt good. Good spirit.
Any new things coming down the pike for you? As far
Not
as
that I know of. Not that I know of. You know, I'm hoping that there are some things that I'd like to do. Now that my teaching load has gotten smaller, I have a little bit more freedom now to do things, and I'd like to do more jazz festivals.
Yeah.
I'd like to go different places. I'm not talking about 90 days anywhere. You know, but go to some place, do a jazz festival, you can go back home.
Right.
You know, go somewhere else. Once a month, maybe. You know, a jazz festival month wouldn't kill me, you know,
Right.
but I still would be able to do it and still work with my kids.
Right.
You know, that's
Well,
what
I
I'd
have a
like to do.
feeling that your students are very lucky to have you.
Oh, thank
You
you.
know.
It's interesting because some of them don't know that I do the jazz bit. So we had, sometimes we have groups to come perform at the school, and guys called me up one time to sing a song with them. And I started singing, and I started scatting, and one of the students, her was just, and she sat that way for the entire song. And when we were finished, she came to me, she says, "You fooled me. You fooled me. You don't act like that in the classroom." "Why you don't act like that in the classroom?" I said, "That's two different situations." You know,
Yeah.
"You fooled me." I said, "Okay, that was fun."
That's neat. Sometimes, you know, the impression you make on students is immediate, and sometimes it's later that they realize what it was
True.
that they were getting from
And
you.
it is.
Yeah.
It is. Because they do come back and,
Right.
you know, they tell you.
Well, it's been a fascinating conversation for me.
Well, thank you.
I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I can come back to your city on a Monday night
Yes.
and come down to your gig.
Yes, yes. Well, I want to thank you for the opportunity, you know, because sometimes I don't know how much I have to say or if I have anything to say, you know, but it's a pleasure to be able to share, you know, whatever it is that I have.
Well, I got a lot out of it.
Well,
So,
thank you.
right.
You gave me some very thoughtful things. Now I've got to go home and think about this. Did I answer that correctly?
Well, it's like jazz. There's really no correct answer. You know. You know, there's different ways to approach it.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Well, I thank you so much.
for your time.
Thank you.